Greetings, guys. Jurgis. We're continuing on with St. Theophane the Recluse, work on the spiritual life and how to be attuned to it. So let's continue. Letter 23, True Spiritual Zeal. Last time I set out to summarize and did not get to the main point. The point is, as you know, the zeal that we are discussing, that active, live, fervent, untiring zeal, that is the sign our spirit has been rehabilitated and restored to its former power through reunion with God by means of the grace and actions of the Holy Spirit. We do have our outbursts of zeal, but they are only outbursts, and then they are extinguished. The zeal which is always fervent, constant, and untiring zeal exists only when our spirit is filled with grace by the Holy Spirit. Thus, when you have such zeal, it means also that your spirit has been restored, and do not quench it. It takes in hand both the mind and body, all the requirements of their nature, all their domestic and civil cares, and it directs them toward one thing, pleasing God and salvation. Do you have such zeal or not? I suppose it is very difficult for you to answer this, and not just on account of modesty. I shall come to your aid. Do not confuse this zeal with other kinds of zeal. Spiritual zeal is completely given over to pleasing God and the salvation of the soul. It is full of the fear of God, and it continually keeps its attention on Him, taking care in every way not to allow anything in the thoughts, feelings, words, or deeds that is not pleasing to God, as directed by the conscience that keeps as pure as a mirror. It guards its heart from any attachments to anything except for God and divine things. And by its hopes, it moves into another world, having cut off all earthly care. It does not shun that which is needed for temporal life, for everything relating to the here and now is for it an attachment. And there is really only one important thing, pleasing God and salvation. Do you see this? Consider this well, if you will, and measure yourself against it. Also, keep in mind that there is intellectual zeal. This is very powerful, but it is completely given over to the affairs of temporal life. There are those who are so zealous for science that they do not sleep, those who run around the entire world for art, those who do not spare any energy in their zeal for industry and trade, others who are zealous in domestic and civil affairs. All this would be neither here nor there, but the trouble is, when one of these kinds of zeals captures the attentions and energy of a person to a great extent, then it extinguishes spiritual zeal. The zeal of the soul in its best manifestations, such as given above, is cold toward the spiritual and repels any wish to occupy itself with that which satisfies spiritual zeal. There is nothing to be said above other kinds of zeal, as they are contrary to spiritual. For there is also the zeal of vanity, for one's dress and the like, and the zeal of evil, impure and sinful, directed toward the satisfaction of the passions. These latter sorts do not just cool spiritual zeal, but are completely adverse to it. And they both suppress it within themselves, if it should somehow begin to stir within the conscience, and also pursue and persecute it inside others. There are many different kinds of zeal. Look within yourself. Don't you have one of these kinds of zeal too? Spiritual zeal does not drive out intellectual zeal for science, art, domestic, or civil concerns. It merely moderates and regulates it, directing it towards spiritual views, not allowing it to become zealous about anything which is counter to itself. It banishes only the vain and the passionate. It does not allow them to appear in the sphere of life of the man of whom it has taken possession. In only one instance does it not allow even intellectual zeal, namely, when it sees that the actions and pursuits for the satisfaction of such a zeal, science, art, craftsmanship, family life, civil service, and occupation, do not give full range to it, spiritual zeal, but crowd it out, cool it, and extinguish it. Then it completely removes the person whom it possesses from all those parts of life which are ruled by intellectual zeal, and carries him off to a place where he may occupy himself with only that which satisfies it, spiritual zeal. Have you guessed what I'm talking about here? I'm isolating true spiritual zeal from all that is alien to it for you, that you may see for certain that it does exist and become zealous for it. It is that fire which the Lord came to bring to the earth, and which, because of our fallen nature on earth, consumes everything that is unnecessary, while everything necessary it smelts and purifies. The apostles had it in mind when he wrote to the Thessalonians, "Quench not the spirit," 1 Thessalonians 5:19. For although the Spirit is a spirit of grace, its presence in us is attested to by the fervor of spiritual zeal, and it will be extinguished when this zeal is quenched. He had this zeal in mind when he taught the Romans, "Be not slothful in business, be fervent in spirit, serving the Lord," 12:11. This very zeal is perseverance and diligence. The fervor in spirit is testimony to his presence and actions, serving the Lord with the direction and spirit of this zeal. In directing such zeal, the apostle commands the Philippians, "Whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things, and the God of peace shall be with you." Philippians 4:8-9. These are the things for which the revived spirit has zeal. It is combined with God, and it maintains this combination as a result of this zeal. It is for this that the God of peace abides with him, a blessing above which there is no other. Defining also the necessary course of zeal, the apostle writes to Romans, "I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies as living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but ye be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." 12:1-2. The renewal of the mind is a renewal of our spirit by grace. Once it has been revived, it renounces the affairs of this world and is zealous only about God-pleasing, presenting itself to God as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to him. There you are, an explanation of what zeal is, what its power is, and what its paths are. Since the significance of this zeal is so great, then you yourself will agree that it is worth the labor of discovering with you whether we have it. Work on this a little. The Feast of the Nativity is approaching. I wish you a Merry Christmas and send you my greetings and good wishes. Along with this, I wish you a Happy New Year. I may not be able to write you before this. So hopefully you're well. We'll talk to you on the next Orthodox Gardener.